Okay, I'll back up. So, this is the Freestanding Heart Gift Boxes, and they are just fun. They come in 3 sizes. This is the small.
2 truffle.
2 truffle. The medium, 4 truffles. And if you really love somebody, the large, 8 truffles. I want the 8 truffle one myself. They also have improved their patterns and their pattern instructions. So this is the large, and it talks about all the cutting, all the designs that you need, and how many of each. And then it goes on to the instructions. So, we need to use 3 different stabilizers. We're going to use StabilStick on the fabric to stiffen it. We are going to put AquaMesh Plus and BadgeMaster in the hoop. And I'm going to show you how to do that. So, you cut your AquaMesh to the size of your hoop, and it's always curly. It's never not curly. So you just roll it in the opposite direction, and don't worry about creasing it. Just encourage it to be more flat. And then in this case, I take off the backing. So I just have the AquaMesh and the sticky side. I put sticky side up. I try to get it off my fingers. Then I have the BadgeMaster, which is a heavyweight washaway. The AquaMesh is also a washaway. And I'm going to put it on the sticky side of the AquaMesh. The larger wrinkles you'll need to pull out, but the little guys, don't worry about. So now it's in one unit, and this makes life so much simpler. I'm going to use my large oval hoop. I'm going to put in my stabilizer. Tighten up the hoop. Press out a couple of the wrinkles. Push it just a hair past, like I always do, so that it rides on the stabilizer and not on your hoop, on your stainless steel bed. You don't want your stainless steel bed to get etched. Now I have loaded up my design. I have my USB with my pigtail. I have loaded up my design. I don't need to do anything to it, so I'm going to go and touch.
And that's before you have the hoop on there.
This is before you put the hoop on. The machine wants things done in its order. It doesn't care what you want. It wants it done the way it wants to do it. So now I put the hoop on, and it will go to the first stitch. What I'm doing now is called a placement line.
Okay, everybody. Once the machine starts running, we're
I'm going to move over.
Yeah. It's going to make some noise.
Oh, and the thread just broke.
Of course it did.
Okay, let's raise up the foot.
Kathy is using our 880 floor model, which is currently on sale for those of you local or within driving distance.
Okay, so I'm going to start this again. And I'm not going to worry about all these little threads. I can cut those away.
So this is making your box.
This is making my placement line, so I know how to put my where and how to put my fabric on. I'm going to leave it on the machine right now because I have to show you how to treat your fabric. So I have my two 5-inch squares because when you're making this box, you're making the inside and the outside as well. I have my StabilStick. It's cut to a 5-inch square as well. And now we're just going to pull off the backing, which is sometimes easier said than done. There we go. And it's sticky, so I'm just going to go ahead and put it on my 5-inch square and press it down, both sides. And don't worry if you're perfectly lined up because it's going to get trimmed.
I plugged in the cord, but then there was no sound. They said there was no sound. Okay. So we unplugged it. I didn't push that. It's 2 buttons. Okay.
So now I'm taking the hoop off. Old school Scotch tape, nothing fancy. I am going to put this on top of my placement line and double check to make sure that I am covering the entire placement area. Then I'm just going to tape it down. You can use temporary spray, but this is easier, especially when it comes time to trim. Now I have a place where I know where I can place the inside on. This is, the back side is the inside of your box. Move that out of the way. Now it's ready to go back on the machine. And it's going to do the tack down and the cutting line. It will go around twice. And the reason it goes around twice is because when you go to trim it, if you accidentally cut the outside line, you still have a stitch line that's holding it in place. Because you want to cut as close as you can to that tack down line. Now comes the part where we're actually going to trim. Do not take it out of the hoop. If you take it out of the hoop, you'll never get it lined up again. And I don't actually bother taking off the tape at this point. If I were doing the rest of the box, this is just the bottom, I would save that tape and I would use it 3 or 4 more times. I go around all 4 sides, on the front and on the back, getting as close as I can to the outside stitch line. Now you got to go and flip it over and do the back side. The back side's easier because you don't have the hoop in the way. And you see all those little stray threads that were there, that rough edge, no big deal. Now it's all clean. And the fact that I wasn't perfectly centered is not a problem either. Okay. Now it's ready to go back on the machine, and it's going to do all the pretty stuff. So while it does the pretty stuff, I'm going to talk about the finishing, and I'm going to step away from the machine a little bit just so that you can hear me a little bit better. Once you get all the pieces done, you will then take them out of the hoop. You'll trim the BadgeMaster AquaMesh blend within about 1/8 of an inch of the edge of the pieces. Then you're going to take some warm water and you're going to soak them. And what will happen then is the water soluble will go away, but you don't want it to go away completely. You want it to stay there a little bit to give it some stiffness. But you also have 2 layers of StabilStick there, and that will also help keep it stable, and so it will also, they will stand up and they will stay standing up. So you have all the pieces. What do you do then? You have to put them together. And so what you're going to do is you're going to sew them together. Look, chair just flipped out. In your instructions, all this information is there. Also, after you rinse out the stabilizer, you're going to want to lay it right side up on parchment paper or some non-stick surface. A goddess sheet works well too. And let it air dry. This is not, you can't throw it in the dryer. You just gotta let it air dry. And it doesn't take that long, a couple hours. Especially in the winter when the house air is dry, really fast. Then you're going to take it and press it wrong side down on either on a press cloth. I use my wool mat, pressing mat, works really well. You just want to make sure it gets nice and flat because it's going to be a little crinkly after it's dry. You're going to press it right side down. Sometimes I'll turn it over and I'll press it on the right side. You're not supposed to, but I don't do what I'm told most of the time. So, it tells you in the instructions how to sew this together. And the important part is to look at the configuration. You're going to think that these should be opposite, but they're not. And you're going to sew from the right side. And if anybody who's taken one of my mastery classes knows that I love stitch number 4, and I say that I never use it at the default. Well, this is the exception. There's always an exception to the rule. I'm using the number 4 stitch at the default because it's a serpentine stitch that goes over the edge and will hold it in really securely. So, to do that, I use my number 1 D foot because it has this lovely little line here. And whenever you get a chance to use a dual feed, you should use a dual feed if you have the option. And this little line will allow you, okay, put the foot down, that's going to run over the center where you're joining them. And the thread broke on this one too. Seems to be the story of my day. Okay. Okay, let's get that out of the way. line it back up, put the foot down, bring it back. Okay. And the thread broke again. Well, it wasn't doing this when I was working on it earlier. So let's just bring it up. Find my thread. Sometimes you just have to start over again. And I'm going to also make sure I have my bottom thread up. Make sure it really is in the tension wheels. And I'm going to back off the upper tension just a little bit. Up again, put my foot down. This is why I like cover, so I can move it. Oh, of course. I'm going to change my, when your thread keeps breaking like that, it's very often a sign that your needle is either the wrong size or it is old. So I am going to fix that because I can. Now this is a multi-function tool. It's designed for the 880, but I use it to put in all my needles because it has this place to put your needle in and it holds it still for you while you get it up into, and it makes sure that you get the needle all the way to the top. Put my foot down to get that off. Put the foot back up. Okay. Thread the needle again. Okay. I put in a slightly larger needle. I'm going to clean that up. This is going to be on the bottom, so no one's going to see it. And if they get that close or they look at that closely, then you just need to tell them to back off. Okay. I'm going to do just a couple of stitches in the back. There we go. Okay, so now it's together. You just got to trim all your threads. Make sure that I got all the threads here. And you'll see that the outside looks really pretty. The inside's not necessarily as pretty. I didn't get all the stabilizer rinsed out of here. I can go back with a washcloth and rinse that off. Also, what you're going to do is you want to pre-bend all these places where it's going to form the box. Then we're going to put the eyelets and the buttonettes together. These are the buttonettes and these are the eyelets. I use an awl to open up the eyelets just a little bit. And then I have my tweezers. That I will now push the buttonette through the eyelet. And you want it to be a tight fit. You don't want it to be too loose. So sometimes it's a struggle, but it doesn't take that much to get it through. Just kind of push it through. And if it's not going through, you can always come back with the awl. Just be careful that you don't break the stitching. I have done that, and that's an unfortunate experience. There we go. There we go. It's now through. It's through, and now I'm ready to do the other one. There are only 4, so it's not a real hardship. Sometimes it's just the first one to getting the first one going. There we go. There's the second one. Actually, there's 8. There's 2 on each side. And you do this all the way around until it's all together. Okay, let me go ahead and see if I can get this done quickly. I will also tell you that if you're never going to fold this flat and you never want to redo the buttonettes or the eyelets, you can take a little white glue and that dries clear like Elmer's and put a drop on each of the buttonettes and eyelets, and that will hold them in place and they will never come undone. Now, I have a couple of freestanding seasonal things that I do flatten every year. So you don't want to do that. Use the glue if you're going to go ahead and flatten it at the end of the season. Flattening it at the end of the season makes storage a lot easier. There we go, guys. Okay, let me get that through. I think you get the idea of how they're going to, then now, they're going to fold in here. This is going to fold. This is going to fold. And then the hearts themselves are going to interlock. And then you have your box with a little extra thread there, but now you have your box. There is a new OESD, let me show you this. This is now done. And each piece will be done like this. It will have the nice satin stitch around the outside. And now is the safe time to take it out of the hoop. And I am making a mess over here. This is when you will use your paper scissors, which I tucked over here somewhere. Ah, there we go. You don't want to use your good shears. Let's just put it that way. And you're going to leave just a little on the outside. What you don't want to do is cut right against the stitching, because if you do that, there's a good shot that you will cut the stitching, and that will not give you that nice look that you want. So now this one is ready to be rinsed. Rinsed, dried, and pressed. This is the bottom, and it doesn't have any of the buttonettes or the eyelets because you are sewing on the 4 sides, the other 4 pieces. So that's all there is to the boxes. Now, there is one new thing coming out from OESD. It is called the So Sweet Reward. They have just started it, so any purchases in January and $10 or more qualify you for a free collection of designs on February 1st. And they will be automatically put into your My Designs folder on your account. I have no idea what those designs are, but I know it's a collection of 4. And they're free, which is the best part. So if you have made a purchase in January, you'll get them on February 1st. If you make a purchase in February, you'll get the free designs on March. And the easiest way to get to OESD is on our link on our webpage, on the Bernina page. It's sort of down to the bottom. You'll see the Embroidery Online logo. Click on that and it takes you straight to the Embroidery Online to OESD. Are there any questions? Anything that I need to respond to?
No. Liking it so far.
Okay. So that's how easy these go together. And the little guy takes no time at all, and I love this little guy. So yes. And of course, the 8 truffle one was make my heart happy, so think about it. I hope you have a lot of fun with your embroidery, and have a great weekend.